Good afternoon, Patriots, and welcome to episode 2. Good afternoon, Patriots. Sorry about that. YouTube opened up a stream in a separate window, so we started getting a little bit of feedback. Welcome to episode 2 of Occam's Razor. What's the simplest answer? Hopefully, we can come to it together. We've got lots of posts from our favorite Anon. We've got new information about the executive order President Trump is going to be dropping today. It might even happen while we're on the air. We've got information about censorship on the left. The irony. You guys, let me know in the chat if you got a notification. Also, please do us a favor. We are being strangled here on this platform. I need your help. Make sure that you like and share this broadcast. It would mean the world. We've got agents in the chat. Maybe not here, but certainly in the comments. We're going to talk about that. Basically, you can assume that you're going to have another comfy conversation between Methods and I. All right, gang. Please, everyone, do sit back, relax, grab your popcorn, and we'll be right back after a brief word from our sponsor. The CV-19 crisis is causing aftershocks all throughout the world economy. Everything is at risk now, especially the food supply. Yes, the government can print bailout money, but they can't print food. Food takes time and the production follows a tight schedule. But CV-19 interfered with that schedule. And now there are gaps in the supply chain that will soon show up as food shortages at your local grocery store. Are you prepared? What if you can't buy any food for a couple of weeks? Well, don't panic. Just go to preparewithredpill78.com right now, and you can save $100 off a 4-week food supply of delicious, nutritious food from my Patriot Supply. They're the top-rated company I personally use and trust for my emergency food. You'll breathe easy when you receive your 4-week kit. It gives you enough meals to get you through the coming food shortage nightmare, and the food tastes like home cooking too. So don't delay. Go to preparewithredpill78.com right now. Get your order today. Tomorrow might be too late. Once again, that's preparewithredpill78.com. And remember, when you support my sponsors, you support this channel. Welcome back, everyone. Thank you so much. Sorry, we had a bit of a technical glitch there. I don't know what happened. The buttons weren't working. I need to, I think, return this Stream Deck that I got here, which is supposed to make my life easier. At least I have it muted. That's a great thing. Methods, how are you, buddy?
Man, I'm doing good today. How are you doing?
I'm doing real well, You know, there is a lot happening in the world today, Methods, and I have to say I am extremely excited to learn what the president is going to do in his executive order today. It's coming at a time of great crisis. Obviously, we had just some terrible damage of property and also loss of life happening in Minnesota. Was it Minneapolis?
Yeah, I believe so. I just know it is Minnesota, but okay. I do agree with you on this, that this escalated really quickly
Yeah.
after something that happened, and we all can agree that the entire situation around how this took place and a life was lost, that was suspect in itself.
Oh,
But
yes.
now where this escalated quickly, I'm seeing things from people that I trust who watched the presser from the police chief earlier from there, was talking about how they didn't even recognize a lot of these people that were rioting. They weren't faces that they recognized or didn't seem like they were from the area, which reminds us of a lot of other times that riots have happened and that similar things have been said, or they say buses show up.
Right.
So it, to me, is very suspect, because we had already talked about it, and it's not just us. We've talked to a lot of people or listened to a lot of other shows or seen tweets and stuff saying, when America wants to start, opening up again, what are they going to do to keep people afraid and inside and divided? And a lot of people, including us here on this channel, said that we expected for some type of riot, FF situations to occur.
Right.
And it's just, that's why we just kind of drop our heads and we're like, we kind of saw this coming, right?
Absolutely. I mean, I was waiting for it to happen. I guess I too thought that it happened very quickly. One of the key complaints from people in Minneapolis who are angry over what happened to George Floyd is that the officers involved in the incident have not been charged yet. Well, they have been fired, and there's a very good chance that they still will be charged. So although people are thirsty for justice and perhaps there is a certain amount of orchestration to what took place, there is still an opportunity for this man and his family to receive some form of justice. Now, granted, no matter what happens, it will not change the fact that this man is not here anymore, and he can't be brought back. That's a horrible, horrible situation. What really angers me about it also is that it immediately gives fuel to their fire that all police officers are bad people. Well, that's clearly not the case. It doesn't matter what subset of a population you choose. You're going to have bad apples in every bunch. And it is that small subset of individuals that, make the rest look bad. I mean, this is something we talk about, with regard to our movement. The people that we can see out there spreading disinformation, spreading, division, spreading anger and hatred. And I mean, it's a horrible look for any group of people. And it really, really is just too bad that this happened. I mean, on so many levels. I mean, there are many police officers and law officers out there in the United States and across the globe that do just incredible work. They go out every day and they sacrifice their safety. Their families know that when they leave, they might not come home. It's an incredible sacrifice. And then you have something like this happen, which just seemingly defies logic or reason. I mean, there's new footage that came out which shows that this gentleman, Floyd, he was not resisting arrest, and the charge that he was in suspicion of was forgery in progress. I'm really confused about what that means. Did he have his printing press like with him in the liquor store and he was, printing $20 bills? Or he was, making a fake ID at the time so that he could, purchase whatever it was he wanted. There are so many elements of it that just reek of some type of orchestrated event. And there's even more. There's even more things that go along with it that just make me pause. But the events that took place, the rioting that took place overnight, I heard reports that there were people they're like undercover agents essentially that were setting the fires themselves, that they, to your point, that people were not recognized, that people who saw others starting the fires. I mean, I actually saw footage of a guy in all black and wearing a gas mask that was, going about the process of starting to set something off. And he wasn't part of the group of people. Like, he got very angry. There were people there who were trying to make sure that things didn't pop off. And somebody followed him and he came after them. It seemed very suspicious.
Yeah, I totally agree. And Becca G in the chat says infiltration by paid bad actors. I always expect the possibility at any event. Well, Becca, we definitely have to keep that into consideration, right?
Yeah.
Because we've seen footage that was suspect from previous situations like this. I don't know if everybody, I'm sure a lot of people here remember Ferguson.
Yeah, yeah.
That stuff was going on. We all watched that footage in real time, right? We were picking those things because it was chaos. And I was watching a live stream the first night when all this was really popping off, and it had multiple screens on it that was showing live streams from different people's cell phones that they had just put them all in one live stream spot. And a couple of them that weren't next to each other, they didn't know each other as far as I could tell from the streams, were both saying that they were out there protesting, doing their thing, and some people showed up, or somebody showed up in the crowd and just started firing a gun. And which then in turn had the police show up in more force. And when I hear that, of course, obviously it's just a couple of people I don't know that's saying this while they're on the ground there. But that's the kind of stuff that like Becca's referring to here, that what better way to fuel this fire more than to just have somebody come in and cause even more chaos? Because I mean, the footage I saw of what was going on there, I think it was Daily Wire had the footage of the morning after, like what was going on. And I didn't read what the headline was, that it was Minnesota. I just looked at the footage first and I was like, what foreign country war is going on right now?
Right.
And then I realized, like, this is the streets of Minnesota. And it was just devastation. So that, to me, it's like, at what point is it protesting, or at what point is it to just wreak havoc? Because all that gets filmed and then it gets put in everybody's house in front of them. So where it might as well be in your neighborhood. That's the whole thing about it. It's mind manipulation. It's fear and control. So yeah, obviously we, especially on the show, we like to walk it back and say, what's the logical explanation? But there's too many variables on this for me to just say, A happened and that's tragic. Just terrible cops being evil. Maybe they are racist. I don't know. But for that to go to where we are now, B, with the Target videos and everything going on, I can't just say this is just society acting out. There feels like more fuel to this fire that's been planned.
Well, I mean, to your point about it, the broadcast into people's homes, I mean, there is most certainly an element of psychological manipulation going on there. I mean, they want people to be afraid. Okay, so you're not going to stay inside because you're afraid of getting sick? Well, we're going to keep you inside because you're afraid of, rioters and looters. And then with... oh, shucks. I just forgot the second point that you were mentioning. Yes. It's not cut and dry. It's not A or B. It's not black or white. It is a series of variables that are all working together in this instance. You've got people definitely who are protesting. We've got people that are trying to show civil disobedience. Then you've got people who are clearly there just to do damage. Then you've got people there who only want to watch the world burn. It is just across the board. You can't put it into a nice, neat little box because there's so many different elements. And who knows? There could be multiple groups that were bussed in. There could be multiple segments, compartmentalized sections of individuals who, your goal, your task for this evening is to, loot televisions. Your task is to set things on fire. Your task is to tip over cars. And all they know is what their own little job is supposed to be. But given the nature of, what we know about Minnesota, and unfortunately the type of Democratic stronghold that it is, and the types of money that flows into there, unfortunately, I think, we can say most assuredly that there is an element of provocateur taking place in Minneapolis right now. It's really sad, when people look out into the streets and they're afraid to go out for whatever reason. It's just handing another win to the people that want to keep us living in fear so that we won't jeopardize our safety. But what really worries me is, what about the people who get trapped in their homes? What if this rioting continues to spread out? What if it goes from the downtown area, like, out into the suburban areas? What are we going to see? What type of, incident like the purge might be waiting to take place? I mean, this is a perfect argument for people to, have their own level of protection at home, if you will. Second Amendment all the way, 100%.
Yeah, imagine if the Democrats got away with what they've been trying to do, taking away guns, and then this started popping off, right?
Yeah.
And to Trump at 2020's point out there, said that wasn't a protest, it was a riot. Exactly. But we also have this thing to where all it takes is some people that come in and try to be the alphas that have an agenda of causing most chaos and damage, whether it's just to have the footage shown in everywhere. I was actually even more frustrated than I have been with Hannity for how many times he showed that death moment of this poor guy. It was just over repeating in the background last night, and it was making me sick. And so what I'm getting at is that you have some people start doing things in a crowd, and then you have, whether I guess you would call it herd mentality or something. Other people are doing it, so I'm going to jump in on it. A lot of these people only really know mainstream media headlines about how evil Trump is, so you're destroying Trump's America. Yeah, and because logically you can't sit here and say, okay, this person was killed by cops, let's go burn down a Target. Like that, to me, it's or looting alone. I mean, that right there, what was your agenda? I was so offended that I'm going to steal all these electronics where I could sell them on the street or just have good stuff.
If you can get home with them,
Right.
I mean, you're carrying a 75-inch TV through a throng of looters rioting. I mean, good luck.
Right. And that's why especially, how we want to talk here on the show is that there's just too much of this stuff where, like, oh, come on, like it's too much of a spectacle. It's too much damage, because in turn, can't Minnesota then request help financially from the government to help fix their, you see what I mean?
I mean, they've already requested the National Guard. So, I mean, right. I would imagine this is going to get disaster funding now. And EO2 Dave made an excellent point. He said the exact same thing happened before the 2016 election. So, I mean, we are basically reliving, what has taken place before. And this is a page out of their playbook that, is well known from everything that we've been doing. Floyd Standifer said also, don't you mean slavery instead of safety? I mean, this is a method that they're using to try to institute a level of slavery on the American people. I mean, force them to do exactly what they want. This is totalitarianism, not any time of democratic republic that we've got in here. I mean, our favorite Anon pointed that out last night. Quarantine is when you restrict the movement of sick people. Tyranny is when you restrict the movement of healthy people. And that is clearly what is taking place right now. I guess I urge everyone to protect yourselves. I urge everyone to keep a cool head. Let it be known that the people who care about America are not the types of people that go out and try to destroy a community. This is going to leave years of lasting damage. How many people do you think maybe are just going to move out of the Minneapolis area because they don't want to be around that? I mean, we've already got exoduses happening from Democratic states. Or what I would really hope would happen is that the people living in these communities that are patriots band together and work to put some new leadership in. Okay, we got to change the rules. I mean, we are well past the point where people need to be taking part in our government. There is so much that people can do. And, as concerned citizens, the best way that we can affect the outcome of what our leaders do is to become our leaders, to take a really big part in what's happening in our state, local, and federal governments. I mean, I urge all of you to do that. I mean, if there's anybody here who's ever considered running for office, or anybody here who's ever thought about holding a position on a board or, a committee, it doesn't matter what, do it. Go do it. Take part in the campaign for President Trump that's coming up this year, but more than that, I mean, this is a battle that's going to be fought here locally. It's something that we must do.
Right. I totally agree. We need more people that can see the future for what it needs to be, stepping into these positions and removing the people that have been there for that long, because it's essentially, you know, it's dictators that are, you know, chosen by the people. Of course, we know about vote cheating and all that stuff that happens to get some of these people, because we really can't explain how some of these people get into office. But the idea of them willfully choosing their dictator to the whole slavery point, like, I guess the best way would be to not know that you're a slave. You know, you're willfully, oh, please help me, please help me. Well, here's these regulations. I have to raise these taxes. You're going to have to put a mask over your face. You're going to have to close your business down and hurt your livelihood, but I'm here to help. And that's the issue that we see out of this. And another topic that I see out there, and I'm not going to really try to like personally die on any mountain on this, because, you know, life keeps changing and variables happen. But I do see a narrative happening, and I don't know if it's shills. I don't know if it's just people that are seeing things differently than I guess I do. But there's this conversation of the right rising up because of this tyranny. And I can understand that. I'm not trying to condone violence, but I can see a world happening to where there's, okay, you're going to have that kind of rising up, you know, on the right to take care of tyranny that actually exists. The meaning is justified as to why. But then you've also got these protests and stuff starting to occur in other situations. I mean, how quickly did it escalate from the death of this man to riots and all? It didn't take long, a day or two, and we're already there. Having those things happen simultaneously, when we have the left train that MAGA hats are racist, and that's a racist, and we go, you see what I mean? Like, there's a perfect storm that you could see happen, and I'm starting to see conversations about people rising up. So it's just I don't know, man. What do you think? I don't know how to wrap my head around that, because that to me is massive war, which ultimately we didn't want to see happen in our streets.
I think it is an orchestrated movement, people being paid to pose as well-meaning, concerned citizens on the right, trying to just drum up such anger and frustration among us to get us to overthrow the very people who are now helping us. This is the first time in my life that we've had a government that did anything for the American people. Just look back objectively. Think about what's taken place since President Trump came into office. For you to say that you want to rise up against President Trump, you're either mad or you are completely dead in the head. There's absolutely no way that makes any sense. You lived under 8 years of the last presidential administration and you sat there eating Cheetos on your couch. You didn't think that you needed to do anything at that point. Now, finally, we have a leader who's actually helping us, who's actually making moves to do things to change our country for the better in an existential way for the first time in our lives, and you want to rise up against it? It makes no sense. The people that are saying that are people who are agent provocateurs. They are being paid to put that stuff out. There are so many good ways that we can get involved in our society, so many proactive ways that we can get involved in our society. We have more people who have awoken at this moment in time than ever in the history of our country. We are finally winning, and now you want to tear it down? It makes zero sense to me.
Hey man, I can totally agree with you on that. Just the only point that I would make on the dead in the head type thing, there are those people out there that have just been either brainwashed or didn't catch it. It's not clicking with them yet. And they also have the people around them that are literally pushing that narrative or genuinely believe this. And we've also, from what we're seeing out of all this stuff and how our favorite Anons pointed to today, that I'm sure that we'll get to, is that evil is all around us. So the whole point of the provocateurs, the whole point of just these people stealing and all that, yeah, they could be paid to steal, but there's also those people that just want to get away with stealing. You know, and it can be anywhere. So the whole idea of this, I can just see a future happening here that can be very, you know, dangerous to a point. But then again, our favorite Anon said that, you know, the military will definitely have to be involved. So I don't know where things are going on that, but I'm very interested, because I also see accounts that I've happened to like interact with or at least see their responses on Twitter. It's names you recognize on Twitter being around a lot, right? You just kind of become part of your everyday, like, oh, that person, I remember their opinion, it was great. And I'm starting to see even a few of them to start saying, hey, if they don't do anything about this tyranny, very, very soon, I'm rising up. Who's with me? And then you could see the likes. And I can understand that, the patriotism, the hoorah, rising up against, tyranny. But that, to me, it's just like, oh, where does that lead right at this point in time?
Considering the presidential administrations and the leadership that we have been existing under for decades, now that President Trump is here, now that we've actually seen true movement to quash this corruption, why would you not at the very least want to give President Trump at least a full term? Or at least his second term. I truly believe that President Trump, once he's into his second term, there's absolutely no reason for him to not completely take the reins and start being, even more of a driver than he is right now. It's the idea of his interim appointments. Those interim appointments, like Rick Grinnell, they come in, they have a job to do, and they do it. They have no care or worry about who's going to say anything to them because they know they're only going to be there for a certain amount of time. Rick Grinnell is clearly a patriot, whatever his personal predilections are outside of his office. But he's going into a job like that, like other interim Trump appointments have gone in. They do what they need to do. They clean that stuff up. They declass. They shake the tree. They fire people. They replace additional people into their places. And then they move on, and we have the next permanent appointment or the next interim appointment come in. Once Trump gets into his second term, it's going to be essentially an interim appointment. He'll have 4 years to do whatever he can to clean up this country. And if he doesn't, that's it. We're done. There's nothing left. And at that point, I can understand people taking a stand and saying, you know what? I'm not going to allow myself to live under this tyranny anymore. Whatever that means to you. I'm not directing anybody to do anything. I'm telling people to get involved in local politics, in state politics, in federal politics, actually do something. Because there's a big difference from just sitting there in your easy chair and saying, I'm angry, let's go and do something crazy. And actually going to some local meetings and, standing on the steps of the Capitol and having something that you're passionate about, talking to your elected representatives about it. And if you don't like your elected representatives, try to replace them. Try to replace them with anybody else. I know that it is a daunting task, okay? There is so much dirty money involved in politics. Things have got to change. And if President Trump, he's got another 4 or 5 years, okay? He's going to have the rest of this year, and then he's going to have all of the next 4 years. And he's going to have to do it, because if it doesn't happen, they're going to bring somebody else in, they're going to replace him, and any gains that he made are going to be wiped away. And at that point, we will truly be in the final days of this country. There is not going to be an America existing close to anything that we've had, the pleasure or displeasure to live through in these short lives that we've been living. But President Trump is not going to have to worry about another election. He's not going to have to worry about what anybody thinks about him. But you look at just the things he's done so far, okay? Just honestly, look at what he's done. We have made more movement in these 3.5 years than we have in any other presidential administration. He has undone so many knots. He has started the process of really getting to the heart of what the corruption here in our country is all about. And I say we have to give him that second term. It is our duty. If we want our country to be saved, we got to vote for President Trump for his second term, and then it's his move. It's up to him, okay? And if he doesn't do stuff, then I'll actively start working on, who the next president's going to be. We're going to have to pick somebody that's going to be able to go up against the Dems and actually change it. But here's the thing. I don't believe we're going to have to. I don't believe that's going to be necessary. From everything I've seen President Trump do, from the way that I've seen him play this game, I honestly believe that that second term is just going to be explosive, even in comparison to this term, which has already been wonderful in my view.
Hey, first off, Love that rant. I'm sure everybody in the chat did. It's definitely great to hear that. And to that point, so the idea of the first term being salvage and the second term being savage, I can dig that, because you're having to put things in place. You're having to deal with what happened during the election that was trying to stop him from even being president, and then attacking, spying, and all that stuff. So dealing with that, and that's been put in the hands of Durham and Barr. So that's absolutely good. And just real quick to the point, I saw Doug said this in the chat: violence is not the answer, it is the answer of last resort. I like that line. I can agree with you to that. A lot of people jumped, at least in Minnesota, jumped to violence really, really quick. But I mean, I can get all that. But as far as what Trump's got to do, I agree with you. I think it's got to be systematic. I'm not trying to make excuses on why certain things have taken so long, but think about how a few days ago we would not have been talking about Trump signing an executive order for social media. And the idea that we were finally getting to that point when, remember, hashtag Internet Bill of Rights a few years ago.
Yes.
And we were pushing it like, oh, we pushed this enough, they're going to have to answer. And then we tried to fill out the petition that seemed to always just like break on the website and not give us the 100,000 when everybody was trying to vote on it. That's a pivotal part of it too, because that falls into all of our wheelhouses, because we all work online, the keyboard warrior type stuff. So having that kind of conversation happen now can do a lot. I think that they're going to have to go in that direction and then take it over to the media and go in that direction and kind of repeal some things that were set in place before that allows them to lie. And I think that's going to have to happen. And like you said, there are certain things that would have to happen in second term when Trump doesn't have to worry about it. But there are moving pieces now. And I know a lot of people in the audience who's been following this for a while can start seeing those pieces put together over time. If you just kind of step back and look and say, hey, well, this happened and this happened, and now it got us to this point. And Trump made this decision that didn't make sense to me at that moment, but now it really, really does. Like he was I see a lot of people, we agree, Trump was essentially goading the media or social media, Twitter especially, to censor him.
Yes.
And a lot of people agree about that. And then all the accusations as well at Scarborough. It drew a lot of attention real quick, and everybody's like, wow, Trump's still on this. He's already said enough. People are going to talk about it, but he just kept going. And then he's talking about the one thing that Democrats mainly need to hold on to, and that's the idea of selling to the public that it's mail-in voting.
Right.
That's going to help. So he just goes right after it. And Twitter just, being, what Twitter is.
The arbiters of truth.
Right. The leftist social media that we just kind of just cause damage in all the time. That them censoring was a card that they didn't probably want to play.
Oh, no.
And held back on. But as soon as that happened, what happens now? Trump's signing an executive order. And just like how we talk about how Pelosi and the Dems, when they vote down a Republican bill and then conveniently they have a 1,400 page bill a few days later, and like, well, here's our counter thing. We've been working hard. Yeah, we know that Trump and his team have been putting something together to counteract. There was just a right time and place. And what do? You get your enemy to attack and set the stage for you. So it's brilliant.
I mean, there is months and months of planning that got years of planning for the whole thing. But when something is decided upon, I mean, you better believe that they have been investigating it. They have been counter planning for anything that might take place. Okay. And this is one of the things that I've felt, that perhaps conservatives did incorrectly in the past. People are too quick to just rush into something. They're just too quick to just say, we need action right now. When the truth of the matter is that the only way that we can beat these people at their own game is to outplan them, outmaneuver them, okay? President Trump, he pushed and pushed and pushed until Twitter was forced to do something, finally, okay? It's been happening to us for years. President Trump knew it. He hinted at it. And then finally, once they did it to him, bam, we have an executive order coming out today. Apparently, President Trump is going to be empowering the FCC to do something about the censorship of on social media companies. They're going to potentially revoke Section 230 from them because they are not publishers. They're acting, they are not platforms. They're acting as publishers. They are editing material. They are actively trying to put a spin on President Trump's tweets. They want to counter the narrative. Okay, so if you're going to behave in that way, then you're going to be stripped of your protections. We found in a draft, it's unsubstantiated and unconfirmed at this point, but it looks to me like what they're actually going to be planning on doing. So I don't know how much additional information it's going to have in there or not, but they're going to be apparently bringing back that White House reporting tool that I'm sure many of us put our submission into, talking about how we've been stifled on these social media platforms. You've got Mark Zuckerberg coming out against Twitter doing this, calling them, saying that they should not be the arbiter of truth. The irony of that is not lost on me. President Trump has been censored both on Facebook and on Twitter, and I'm sure on this platform right here, we all have, okay? What's been going on with the chat lately? Everything is disappearing. We have chats just not showing up. I had somebody send me an email and say that due to that craziness that's happening with the chat, they said that they appreciate me having the chat on here because at least for me, I can see the whole thing. But from how it looks to everybody else out there, the chat disappears. You don't get to see it. This way, you can follow along with it if it's not working for you. Okay, so that's one win for us. But it needs to be so much more than that. My notifications for my videos are just not going out to people anymore. I went from getting 90,000 views a video to 60,000 views a video to yesterday, now this week, 30,000 views on my video yesterday. Like, what happened? How did I just lose 30,000 people each week? I mean, I know people are going back to work, all right, but I also know that people are not getting notifications. I know that people are getting unsubscribed. I know that when they turn on their notifications, they're just not getting them. So there is clearly an orchestrated level that's taking place here. If President Trump would have just come into office and said, I'm going to do all of this, here it is, it's all one big executive order, they would have been challenged in the courts. They would have been challenged in Congress, okay? They already tried to thwart him at every single turn. But this way, President Trump has shown the American public, he's shown people in his administration, he's shown these companies that he sees exactly what they're doing. And now, based on their own behavior, things must change. Otherwise, we don't have the ability to express ourselves and to speak freely. Right now, everything that we do and say is stifled. Everything that we do and say is, fact-checked. Everything that we do and say is completely kept into a little corner in a box all by itself, with the sole intention of us not being able to reach out and communicate with each other. How are we supposed to communicate with each other and have an exchange of ideas if we are just not even allowed to have the same level playing field as people with competing ideas, with different opinions? This is not a tenable situation, and things are now going to change, my friends. This is a given. Right now, President Trump is apparently, or Kayleigh McEnany is supposed to have started a press conference at 2 p.m. I do believe it's going to be about this executive order. There are so many things that are potentially in this executive order. Now, what I found was a link to this draft on a woman's website, and her name, this actually came from Kathy, one of my viewers, and this woman's name is Kate Klonick. She's an assistant professor of law at St. John's University, and she's involved in a whole lot of different things. So she had this listed on her website. It's actually hidden. It's just uploaded there. But then we found an article from the Gateway Pundit, which discusses the exact same executive order, and it's hosted on another website, but it is the same text, okay? So they're going to be asking, hopefully, the FCC to review Section 230. There's going to be a new order to forward complaints of anti-conservative bias filed with the White House over the FTC. The new order asks federal agencies to pull back digital dollars from these social media companies if they want to stifle and silence conservative voices. This is exactly what we need. And there's a 30-day period of review where all of these companies are going to be closely scrutinized. Now, the other thing, specifically the complaint that I mentioned with the White House, the official White House complaint form, if you've been censored, that's going to be coming back. It's going to be through the White House itself. President Trump is not going to farm that out to the FTC. There's not going to be a separate agency. When we let the president know about our voices being silenced, it goes directly to him, directly to his team. He's got people right there working with him on a daily basis who are going to be the ones reviewing this. It's not going to have the opportunity to funnel through some nebulous federal agency whose dollars and funding is based upon companies like these social media giants. This is going to be going right to the White House. They've got 30 days to get this stuff figured out. And watch this. I mean, either they're going to have to start complying, they're going to have to start playing ball, or these people are going to lose the protections that are given to them by Section 230, and things are going to implode, my friends, if that happens.
I totally agree with you on all that, and good explanation on what's going on here, because that's what I'm getting to from other reports, not just that draft that's been going around. But real quick, Pat O'Neill in the chat says, come on, RP, read the super chats. Well, I mean, maybe we should have mentioned this at the beginning of the show and for the next few ones. There's a newer format that we're doing with this show that basically the first hour of this is going to be this conversation and reading things from the chat itself, not necessarily super chats. Just, good points or different things that get brought up that remind us of stuff. We're going to be bringing that up. And then the final half hour, since we've extended the show length, is going to be specifically on the super chats. There will be topics that are discussed and anything else going on. And if there's anything else left over, we'll just chat about whatever we see. But no, that's what we're doing, Pat, with this. So we can kind of just have the flow of conversation like you're hearing now. Now, just real quick, because you referred to Section 230 a few times, and I can't speak for the entire audience on them knowing what that is. So I just want to say that basically I'm reading from an article here. It says regulations under Section 230 of the Communications Decency Act, a law that exempts online platforms from legal liability for material posted by their users. So, for example, like me and Rip Hill were talking about before the show, like crimes get committed through social media. Things that aren't supposed to be posted on all age platforms and stuff get posted on social media. Death threats to the president, for example, doesn't need to be on social media. It's supposed to get taken down. And it's funny. We see those screen caps of things like from people showing their DMs of getting death threats and things like that, but if it's a person on the right, it kind of just goes unchecked for the most part. If it's attacking the right. But if it's attacking the left, we say anything even halfway, mean or whatever, it can get taken down if it gets reported enough. This would make Twitter liable for any of these things that are happening on there. Because if you follow the bouncing ball on it, if Trump then were to go after propaganda in another EO, or the legislation in a House and Senate controlled by Republican situation that we are hopefully and fighting for and believing will happen in November, then you have the propaganda thing and making it wrong for them as publishers, all that, to have that information spread. If it's wrong, it needs to be taken down, just like how things are supposed to be in the press. So I think if you combine those two together, it makes it to where you have to let the truth through. Because I was watching some people chat about, now I don't follow a lot of blue check people on Twitter that especially like liberals, I get sent things, but I was told that they started quietly putting those like fact checkers under, Democrat and liberal tweets on these topics to kind of just say, oh, okay, yeah, we did it to the president, but we're just going to do it to everybody now. But that can kind of just, but if you're giving CNN articles, it's technically backing up the claim of the Democrat tweet. So if anything, they're helping them with sauce, but they're going to try to do that move. And I also heard, Kayleigh McEnany said it earlier on Fox News. She said that right before she walked out, they were already, they were then finally dealing with how the CCP and that kind of controlled media that was blaming, remember how they were blaming U.S. troops for the cause of all this?
Oh, yeah.
This whole Kung Flu situation. They now quietly started dealing with that this morning. And so but they don't really know. I mean, if they're going to be watched for 30 days. Let's just say if that draft is correct, you know, and then we are going to be reporting anytime we get censored, and we are basically going around and catching all these things in real time. It's building the case for these certain things to occur. So I'm definitely interested in it happening. And just real quick before I pass it back over, but we got 3,500 people here hanging out with us. We really appreciate you guys hanging out. Yeah, of course. You know, just having that kind of people hanging out and chilling with us while we chat, hang out is pretty cool. We've got 1.5 thousand likes on my end. So if you guys don't mind clicking that like button if you forgot, or you know, we're waiting to decide if you like it or not. We appreciate it. And yeah, anybody who's hit us up in PayPal and stuff, we really do appreciate it.
All right. And also, you guys, you know, I talked about some more issues of censorship yesterday in my video. I'm going to put the link in there. If you guys haven't checked it out yet, I would really appreciate it if you did, because I know that a vast majority of you did not get the notification. Perhaps all of you that are here are the only ones who watched the video. I don't know. But go ahead and please take a look at that, because I discussed some issues of censorship, and it's not relegated just to Twitter. I mean, there was stuff taking place here on YouTube, and specifically it was in relation to the CCP. Now, I wanted to show you this comment that I got from somebody whose name is Robert Brander, and all I did was just talk about the fact that censorship was taking place and who it benefited. And I get this history lesson about China and how they have the right and the responsibility to do whatever they want, and that I'm blaming China and that it's a made in America, I think they meant to say ruse, but they said rouse. And there is, you know, a variety of misspellings that take place in here, strange capitalizations. But this just smacked to me of a CCP operative coming into my chat, coming into my comments section to attempt to stir things up and to drum up sympathy for that country where the CCP resides. I mean, this is nothing new, but it's the first time I ever specifically noticed it. And I thought it was very interesting, considering the content of the video, what I was saying in the video, and who the censorship is benefiting. You know, we look at what has been done for the CCP, the way these companies have bowed the knee, how they've dropped down to pay fealty to this this dictatorship. Okay, this totalitarian regime. We see what's happening right now in Hong Kong, the people who are being crushed before our very eyes, and it is really disheartening. It's sad because it is so painfully obvious that these companies are bowing the knee because they are getting paid. Okay, they have been paid to build projects that benefit the CCP, that allow them to keep track and to keep mind over their citizens, to make sure that the public discourse only goes in one direction. And that is exactly what I see them doing here in America. This is what their goal is. They used the CCP in that country as a testing ground, okay? And now the Dims want to enact the exact same controls here in America. And as long as we have a voice, that is never going to happen. President Trump signing this executive order, whatever the content of it is, as long as it goes after Section 230 and it brings a level playing field back to the playground, that is what matters. And, you know, I have an excellent example how the voice of the people resulted in something major. You guys know that I love comic books. You know that I love comic book movies. If you saw Justice League, then you know that Justice League was a subpar film. Warner Brothers completely destroyed the original cut, Zack Snyder's cut. They brought in Joss Whedon, who has a style that is completely different from Zack Snyder. He reshot like 3/4 of the movie. They changed the color palette. They added humor. They chopped it down. They took what was designed as a 3-film arc and they squished it into a 1-film, subpar film. And the people who watch movies like that, they didn't go see it, okay? I didn't bother to see it in the theater because I knew it was horrible. Well, people like me, people like other comic book aficionados in the chat, who wanted to see the Snyder Cut over the last couple of years, ever since it was announced that Zack Snyder had what was essentially a nearly complete vision or version of his vision of the film, and he was showing it to people privately. Now, because they've launched this new streaming service, HBO Max, they've changed things up. They are going to release the Snyder Cut on HBO Max, and I am super elated. Okay, this is probably one of the most exciting things that has happened in terms of these kinds of movies, as far as I'm concerned. And whether or not you guys are interested in comic books or comic book films, what's important is that the people who are the consumers of this type of stuff, they came out, they did not relent, they used their voice to put pressure on the studio, and now they're revealing it finally next year in what is a 6-part series, I believe. Okay, so they took what was Zack Snyder's like 3.5 hour film, they expanded it. They're going to do like $20 million worth of reshoots. They're going to be making a brand new product, and it's because the people spoke up. Okay, they let these movie theaters know what they're willing to see and what they're willing to spend their money on. Now, this is something that's going to have a ripple effect across entertainment. How long have we been talking about the garbage that they push on us, the programming of society through these films, through the messages and the subject matter that they put into it? People are not spending their money on this stuff now. Nobody's going to the movies at all because of the CV-19. And the only way that they're going to be able to bring people back is if they actually put out good content that is devoid of these social messages. So now the elite of the reporting world are talking about this as if it's the end of filmmaking as we know it, that toxic male fandoms have given way to this relenting of the movie studio, Warner Brothers, when in actuality, what it's done is show their incredible hypocrisy and how they are part of the problem. Nobody's going to see something unless it's something that they actually enjoy, and nobody wants to see something where they're getting called out. They're being called names for, just existing as who they are. None of us can help how we were born. None of us can help who our parents were. Okay. And that is the absolute worst reason to decide that you hate somebody. But these reporters hate people like me because of who I am. And now something has happened and we've changed it. The same thing has happened here with President Trump and this executive order. We have cried out long enough. We have shown with incredible evidence and facts at our disposal. And now through the implementation of these processes and these policies now against the president, he has shown as well. And finally, something is going to happen about it. People with a voice have the ability to make a change. And if we use our voice in unison, working towards a common goal, we can affect change, okay? We've done that since 2016. We came together as a country, we elected President Trump, and we never stopped talking. It didn't matter how much they tried to stifle our voices. We kept talking. Delete my account, I'm going to make a new account. Delete my tweet, I'll find a new way to write it. Delete my video, I'm going to find a new way to make it. And I'm going to get my message out, okay? And by helping each other to amplify each other's voices, to amplify the causes that we have a passion about, to amplify the issues that affect the American public, we can make things different. And that is what is happening right now.
All right. Well said, man. I totally agree. And to that point about using our voices, that's why we found it very important to do this, to speak and actually talk on shows and stuff like that. But I'll speak even from personal experience. And I've had other people come to me too and say that they kind of went the same way. I didn't use my voice at all, really. I was the ultimate lurker, different names, different life, just doing what I did. And this whole process, I've gotten a lot of comments over the last few years of people like, hey, I was afraid to post on on whether it be 8chan or now 8kun, or even on Twitter, just speaking out or calling Democrats out when they're lying, or the media. They're like, I was afraid in the beginning, but I've been watching. They would say, well, like, I'm watching people like you, and then insert name here from Twitter. Because I don't want to leave anybody out if I started naming people. Because of everybody speaking out, I wanted to. And that's the point of it, is that we had to be consistent about making sure that we were represented, at least from our values and our side, and about things and accountability. And that's why sometimes, like, Red Pill and I and others might get frustrated when we see things like, oh, things aren't happening fast enough, it's never going to happen, we're being lied to, all that, which makes sense because we talk about all the time about, emotions and, passion for things to change. But having this going after things and having a strong voice, a unified voice that are pushing for things when certain things happen, like the Obamagate's a great example. #Obamagate. You guys, we rock the world with that. And how quickly can we do that again? As soon as certain things happen, that unified voice is there. And that's part of the reason why we get mainstream media articles and news reports, it's specials on us. I can't think of a news company that hasn't covered us yet that we know is left leaning as far as this movement in general. Why did they do that? Ask yourself, why are they doing that? If we're just a bunch of people on the internet that are making memes and supporting a president, it's because of what we can control. And to the point that Red Pill brought up, as far as, the Snyder Cut thing and all that, I didn't even know about it. I mean, I kind of follow that stuff. I'm more into the Marvel side of things, if I'm going to show any nerd side of me in this conversation. To me, I knew about the Snyder's Cut because of the hashtag trending so big. Like, what does this mean? And I'd go read, and they had unified groups, chat rooms, discussions, live streams. They would do campaigns with, petitions. They were passionate about something, and they pushed long enough. How long did that go on for? When did he leave? Yeah, it's been going on for a couple years straight.
Yeah, I mean,
pushing it.
Basically, as soon as the movie came out, as soon as it was announced that Joss Whedon was taking over for Zack Snyder, anybody who knows anything about these movies knew that it was a terrible mistake. I mean, Joss Whedon is the guy who wrote and directed The Avengers. Both superhero movies, both ensemble movies, but both very different in, like, tone and tenor. And for Joss Whedon to be the guy that picks up the reins from Zack Snyder, oh man, that was a bad idea. I mean, they just have a completely different style. They were initially making the DC universe to be kind of like gritty and dark, whereas the Marvel universe is, very lighthearted, kind of comedic, it's still action-packed, but it's a different thing. And so, I mean, a lot of people knew at that time that there was no way. But then once, after it came out and it didn't do so well, and people started talking about it, and we learned that Zack Snyder had actually left much, much later in production than had been previously reported, people started asking, well, what about the cut that Zack Snyder made? And people started talking about it, and then Zack Snyder started posting images on a social media account, it's called Vero or something like that, and he was posting images from a very different film, from Joss Whedon's film, and people started asking for it. It's been going on for darn near 2 years now.
Yeah, Rook Castle out there, first off, said that earlier, she said that you were geeking out, which I can agree, and it's awesome. I love it. Anytime you can hear somebody passionate about something, even if you're not into it, you could feed off that passion and at least appreciate it. But Rook also said, I think we could do a show just on this topic. Absolutely. I mean, we want to be able to have discussions in this movement, or at least how we came through in this movement, about everything. We want to be able to have topics and stuff like this, but it's a great point that Red Pill's been bringing up, is that they were promised something about a movie franchise, and then something changed, and they had to switch to a different direction with a different person running it, and the people wanted something else, and they spoke out long enough. They didn't quit after the first time of the rise and fall of a hashtag. That happens. Life gets in the way. There's new things that you want to talk about. So of course hashtags are going to go up and then come back down, because I remember the media attacking us, saying, oh, Obamagate's already dropping. They're already giving up on it.
Yeah.
Let's see what happens when Trump says it again, or something else comes out that's big, and then Trump just says, retweets somebody, it just says Obamagate with all the caps that he likes to do when he's pointing out things. Watch how quickly we can then push that right back. And that's the point of all this, is that we are forcing truth to come out, because we have a genuine goal in this. And that's why I can believe in this movement so much, is because what we want is genuine. We want justice. We want what we were told the society is that we were born into. Mm-hmm. That, you break the laws, the punishment fits the crime, you pay your dues, you take care of your fellow man, you get yourself a job, you raise your family. You can have that American dream, that we were born into this matrix of a lie. And we're now fighting for it to the bitter end. And I'm proud every day. Mm-hmm. I'm proud every day. I could just sit and lurk Twitter alone and then just go through reading people's stuff. And I just get proud that this is the world that we've created. Not creating. We created this world to where everybody refers to this movement, even when they don't want to. Mm-hmm. They at least have to refer to us. And of course, they have all their cheesy and very corny nicknames. I mean, the left can't meme. They also can't come up with anything creative to attack us. No. So I totally see it. So yeah, I mean, just to that point, this is that important, regardless of when outcomes happen. I will say it again, we should have been doing this all along. It's 2:30. We're going to start reading the super chats now, but the reason that they attack us so unrelentingly, the reason they come after us and try to silence us, is because of that collective power that we hold together. And that is the point of everything that I said. Okay? We have this amazing ability to broadcast a message. We have the ability to help each other get these ideas out. Imagine, when Obamagate was trending the other day for several days in a row, it was one of the proudest moments I've ever had in this movement, to see everyone coming together behind that single idea and forcing the world to take a look. Scandal-free administration, my rear end, okay? We used what we had, which was our voice, our collective voice, and we broadcast a single unified idea, forcing anybody who didn't want to look to have to look, okay? Now, there was a short broadcast from CBS the other day talking about this movement, and the point of it was that it has gone from fringe, right-wing thing to now part of the political mainstream, okay? We've got people running as candidates openly talking about the views and I guess just the heart of what this movement represents and who people are within this movement. And you've got big-time broadcasters who are no longer just making fun of it, but now instead talking about the danger that it poses to them and their regime and their establishment. And that's where we're at, and that's where we need to continue going, okay? We have come this far. Okay, we have tremendous resiliency as a movement and as a people. And as far as I'm concerned, America has been here for hundreds of years. We must work together to continue that dream for the next several hundred years. Okay, we have to make sure that America continues to exist. Now, Baby Yoda said, just in case you forgot, we love you. We love your critters too, and M3. Best regards. Thank you, Baby Yoda. Angel Morfan says, is there, in your opinion, a connection between the unknown Bible author Q and the boss? I'm assuming you're talking about the book of Q. I've never actually, if that is what you're talking about, I've never actually read it. It's actually on a list of books that I want to buy, but it was out of print. And if anybody has a used copy I can buy from you, I will do that. I'd love to read it. Hey Jude says, did you see Trump troll Jeffrey Gooderman admit on Twit that he sold his soul to the devil, funded by Soros? Yes, I saw him admit on Twitter that he is funded by George S., the mysterious billionaire who I'm really hoping is going to catch some charges very, very soon in the future. Real quick on just that point, I saw a tweet of him replying to somebody, and his excuse on it, whether he is paid or not, his excuse was basically he was trying to troll us. So it is what it is. Obviously, that's an easy thing to say, the whole, I was just joking when you're doing things. Yeah. But yeah, just full transparency. Apparently, he said something like that.
Okay, SGTUSMCVET269, go play in the traffic trolls, says, let's all pray together now. God will hear our prayers to spread peace. All right, that's an excellent idea, you guys. I want us to pray not only for the safety and security of everybody here in the chat with us, also for the people of Minneapolis, anybody who's affected by the rioting, by the loss of life, by the destruction of property, and then, of course, for everybody here in the United States and for our great and fearless leader, President Donald Trump. Thank you, God, for sending us such an incredible man, somebody who had the power and the stamina to do what is necessary to risk his own life, fortune, and family to save our country. Amen. Kenneth Chamberlain says, Knights Templar, sleeper cell goes down goes tweeter. Kenneth, I believe this. You've mentioned this before. Is there any way you can send me some information about this to my email so that I can look into this? Because, I mean, all I really know is that the Knights Templar was an ancient group of knights that apparently had the Holy Grail. That's all I know, really. Sheila Garrett says, sometimes I want to be on Twitter, but then my senses come back. I am a lurker and read everyone's tweets. I'm on Gab and hope the president moves there. Love to you both. Love you too, Sheila. Thank you for that. Here's the thing. I would be just elated if President Trump moved to Gab. If President Trump, even opened up an account on Gab. But the fact of the matter is that as it stands right now, Twitter is the #1 platform publisher of that type in the world. And President Trump needs to be where the most eyes are going to be on his stuff. It's also the place that reporters are going to cover. We know that he says things very strategically and specifically on Twitter, so it will then be covered by the mainstream media, and so that people like us are going to see it. I think that it would be a great idea for President Trump, though, if you're listening, have someone on your social media team open up a Gab account and just move all of your tweets over there. Start using it in the same way that you're using Twitter right now.
And just real quick to that point, because our friend Neon Revolt reached out, how much he uses Gab.
I forgot to mention this, but yeah.
No, it's fine. Yeah, he let me know that over there on Gab, even the owner, Torba, I think is his name.
Yeah, Andrew Torba.
Yeah, he's saying, hey, you guys need to come over here and create your accounts because the handles are very unique. You make it's yours, and you need to do that because there is an anticipation that Trump might make the jump. He didn't claim that he had heard it. So I went to go do that, and I had actually deleted my own old account, and that just makes it go away for forever. I can't even create that handle, neither can anybody else.
Oh, really?
But I did. So I had @methods, and I had deleted my account, and then of course, now I can't get it back. Even Torba told me, but I made @M to Madness, so at least people could find it. And I'm sure Torba's not listening, but shout out to him. He actually verified me without me paying anything. I don't have all the features and stuff that you can do if you do the upgraded pro account.
Yeah.
But he went ahead and verified me so I can at least have that credibility coming over. So
that's awesome.
It was really, really nice of him to do. But yeah, I'm over there. If you guys want to follow me, I might start dropping some stuff over there just to kind of keep things going. But yeah, I have no problem making the jump if our president does.
Yeah, and I already have a Gab account. So if you guys are on there, I'm @RedPill78. And Andrew Torba, if you're listening, I'll take a confirmation too, but no pressure. All right. So Sheila Garrett, thank you again. EO2 Dave says, when are you running for office, Red Pill? I don't know that I'll run for office. I would definitely work in the administration if President Trump wanted me to. I'll tell you that much. I think that, I don't know. Maybe someday, but I don't see it in my future specifically. The Mikado 16, how about 8 more years? Yeah, I think his first term has just been a total wash. The entire time he's been forced to deal with these ridiculous attacks, these baseless investigations, losing and wasting millions and millions of dollars in taxpayer money. It's a ridiculous thing, and President Trump deserves 2 more terms. Michelle Mangiavellano, thank you, Michelle, just a kiss. Rook Castle says, Karen Pence did not win the name lottery. No, how unfortunate is it that Karen Pence's name is Karen Pence? The Mikado 16 says, Russell J. Gould system. The flag Q posted is his. That's an interesting idea. I hadn't considered that. But if you guys haven't seen my the shows that I did with Robert Horton and with Russell J. Gould, go check those out and you can get the information. Or even better, go to the War Castles YouTube page and watch the stuff there. Also, I did have somebody mention in the chat they wanted to know where they can find the deleted video of the doctor. It's been uploaded and it's processing on BitChute right now. It takes days to process a video that's that long on BitChute. So in the very near future, you guys, you'll be able to see it. Now, if you're a patron or a subscribe star, I've already put the link up there. But what I can do is post the link to it right now, and then you guys can hold on to the link, and then once it's done processing, you can go watch it yourself. That's a direct link to my BitChute channel. You can subscribe to my channel there if you want, and I appreciate your help. You know, I have to be real honest, the amount of time that it takes to upload and process videos on there has basically been the reason that I didn't post stuff specifically over on there, because I'm doing breaking news. You know, I'm talking about things that are timely as of now, but each of my videos does go directly over there. So I appreciate you guys checking it out. Daniel Diedrich says, Dershowitz, lawyer for Jeffrey, pro-forced vax, labeled Patriot by Q. Thoughts? This is definitely something that has given me pause. I think that there is... Let's say that no matter what Alan Dershowitz does, whatever role he plays within this, you know, grand chess game that we find ourselves in, he is still someone who has his own questionable ideas. I think it's possible for Dershowitz to be a patriot and to be doing the bidding of Trump, but still also believe that that point of view is correct. I don't agree with it. And I guess I would say that many of us who consider ourselves patriots probably have opposing viewpoints. Maybe not on that specific instance, but we would be kidding ourselves if we thought that every single one of us had the exact same views on every single subject. I know that there is a cross-section of differing viewpoints on a number of different pieces of information. So I'm not willing to throw Alan Dershowitz out with the bathwater. Am I willing to say that I think he's wildly incorrect on that point of view? Yes, most definitely. Now, perhaps Alan Dershowitz is playing a role in making that statement. I don't know. This is another one of those things which, you know, it's something that we don't have all the knowledge on. We're not privy to the back and forth, the information that, you know, is inside Alan Dershowitz's brain. So
I don't mean to cut you off on that, but the whole idea of, first off, people are saying that your BitChute link is 404. So you might need to check.
Well, the video's not done processing yet. So
so it's to that link. But anyways, on the Alan D. welcome aboard. Is that that was the only time that he's been referenced, right?
Yeah, that's as far as I know. I mean,
how does that make him a patriot? That's my question. Welcome aboard the defense team for the impeachment stuff.
Yeah,
you know, because they saw that coming. That could be construed like welcome aboard. Mm-hmm. You know, could mean, you know, letting the other side know that he was talking about a lot of Epstein stuff. You have to think about the context there.
Yeah,
but I don't specifically remember, and if I'm wrong, correct me on Twitter. But I making that leap to patriot. Yeah, it's something that we're doing in our own minds, not something that was said specifically.
I totally agree. Totally agree. Also, Shannon on PayPal. Thank you very much, Shannon. Let's see. Pat O'Neill says, this is what they're going to do with mail-in voting. It's too basic for Dems to take election and potentially get caught. They will rig for Republicans and then say POTUS stole the election, so they boot him. I don't think... Okay, so yesterday in my video, I did talk about what could have been an example of this. I don't think that they would have the gall to try to frame him in that particular way. That's too close to messing up their own game. They're definitely going to attempt to cheat. Now, we've been told that the election is secure. Okay, we know that they had people in place. They watched this stuff go down, and I almost guarantee it. I said this at the time. You know, is it possible that they allowed these people to cheat one more time? Okay, fully documenting everything, so that when the time came in 2020, they could attempt to do it again, and then they'll be caught red-handed, and they will have a rock-solid case because then they'll have done it in 2 different elections. I think it's very possible, and I think that the only way that they're going to cheat is to try to cheat their way into office again. There are going to be many, many things in place, I believe, which are going to stop them from being able to steal the election. I'm not worried personally, and I believe from the information we've gotten on the posts, I think that we have no reason to be worried. Stephanie Usman says, Minneapolis police chief just confirmed looters and rioters not from the city. That's right. They were probably bussed in. Denise, our UK correspondent, says you should see what they are trying to do here with Boris and his chief advisor. This guy, his chief advisor, took a trip across town to bring his son, to the doctor or something like that? So he's breaking the rules of quarantine and social distancing. Meanwhile, many different people on the left in Britain are also doing the same thing, going to visit people, hanging out in gardens in the backyard and, visiting their parents, things like that. This is just another example of them cherry picking from the rules, rules for thee, but not for me, trying to get him removed. If you'll remember, the architect of the entire system, social distancing and all that, he broke the rules himself when he went to meet up with his married mistress. So, but of course, they're not mentioning that one at all. Son of a Green Card says, the harder they push, the more they expose themselves. The more they expose themselves, the more people wake up. The more people wake up, the harder they have to push. Absolutely, 100%. This is exactly what's happened. It's a pattern of events. It's a pattern of displayed behavior over and over and over again. There are more people awake right now than there have been ever in the history of our country. People will not be fooled. This lockdown that we just experienced last time, it will never be able to happen again. Rook Castle says, A.A. Ron said we should send in Red Pill's Warhawk into Minnesota to slay Antifa. Yeah, that's a great idea. Go on Red Pill's Warhawk with your Tomahawk Army, and we'll get those guys taken care of. Baby Yoda says, be aware of subliminal advertising and communications that are not at your level. Absolutely. In my view, people have really woken up to this stuff. And when I've said it before in the show, Methods has too, it's impossible for me to watch something and not see that subliminal messaging if it exists. I have watched things where I didn't pick up on anything. Okay, doesn't mean that it's not there, but I didn't see any of that subliminal stuff. But it's impossible for me to watch something with a social agenda like that and not immediately know that that's what they're trying to do. Baby Otis, thank you very much. Bruce Wayne says, superhero chatter. Now you're talking my language, and my passion and side job is nerdsinabar.com. Is that a website, nerdsinabar.com? I'm definitely going to check it out. Brutus DM says, Deep State is the Trilateral Commission, the tip of the spear pointed at God. Fatima. The Trilateral Commission is just one of many organizations that are working, almost as different fingers of the same hand. I should bring up my copy of Bloodlines of the Illuminati by Fritz Springmeier. We should go over that sometime. Let's see. Red Pill's Warhawk says, real men wear kilts like comic books, trained to destroy and pray they never have to. I love y'all like family. That's right. You got to be prepared. And, to your point, all of those things, let's watch Braveheart, buddy. Baby Love 78 says, hey, Red Pill, when are you going to join Parler? Methods, can you follow me back? If you've covered this, I was pulled away by an important phone call. Thanks for all you guys do. I really hope I'm not annoying to you both. Not annoying to me.
Definitely not. And to anybody that's DMing me on Twitter, it's gotten so flooded, just like how Red Pill talks about with his emails. It's like we're afraid to even open them at times because there's so many messages. So if it's there, I apologize. I do need to get to them. But to that point, because I set up the new Gab like we just talked about earlier. And then I also went back and just made sure I could get into the Parler I made so nobody could steal and try to act like me when Parler was becoming a thing. Mm-hmm. So I have a tweet, actually, just shameless plug, because I see it in the chat since we brought it up. What's your links to this? You should use Parler. Well, I'm on both. I'm going to try to at least do something on each of them every day, maybe. But here's a tweet that I did earlier that has links to my backup Twitter, my Parler, my Gab, and my YouTube channel that will not be dormant for much longer. I plan to be using a lot, but I'm just going to go ahead and flood the chat so you guys have it. And if you missed it and you're just hearing this, go to my Twitter. It's one of my last few tweets.
Baby Love, I just read your super chat, hon, unless you send another one later on. I haven't gotten there yet. Even if Braveheart didn't end well, it was still a powerful story, and it showed that you don't have to take it lying down, okay? People need to be fighting back, and I'm not saying that we need to rise up in that way yet. I'm saying that we need to be ready for anything, and we need to be willing to do everything up until that point, okay? And we have no room to complain if we're not voting, if we're not participating in society, and if we're not working to spread this message and try to, get as many people awake and aware as possible. In a manner of speaking, we're responsible for the people in our immediate orbit, okay? We need to allow people to come to this information in their own time. We don't want to be too forceful and shove it down their throats, but slowly over time, people start waking up. And the types of things that we're seeing happen, President Trump's tweets getting censored is one thing. How many people do you think that's going to wake up? I didn't even bring this up yet. Michael Moore, the bastion of the left, who he recently had a new documentary come out where he was critical of the climate issue and the people on the left. Well, after 8 million views on YouTube, someone on the left had his video removed for a copyright claim. And now people in the media are describing Michael Moore as an ally of the right, essentially, saying that he's propping up the views of Donald Trump. Whoever would have thought that would happen, you guys? I never in my wildest dreams thought that I would see Michael Moore as a hero to the right. Now, is he a hero to the right? I'm not going to say that he is. However, I find it highly ironic that he took part in the same cancel culture that then brought him down. Okay? Absolutely love it.
Well, I personally think the left can have him back if there's an argument on who's going to take credit for him. But no, you're right. I mean, the idea of it happening to the left, because they're going to have to, because if there's this censorship on topics happening, and now because Trump's calling it out, and you can't just be biased about things, they're going to have to do it to the left too, right, to justify those actions if they need to keep doing it to us. Well, you're going to have them speak out and say, all right, well, I guess the right was, right about it all along.
Exactly.
And so to me, it makes sense. And anybody being, cancel culture, take it down. I don't appreciate it, right or left. They didn't do anything wrong.
No. Well, but even, you know what? I mean, the idea of cancel culture, regardless of whatever happened, I mean, to call for the deplatforming of people, to call for people's, livelihoods to be taken away. I do not agree with that. I mean, it's bad karma. Okay, you're going to get back what you put out. And that's the thing about Michael Moore, is that he called for the removal of Trump. He called for people to essentially try to erase President Trump from culture and society and get him out of the presidency. And then lo and behold, he has his own documentary film with 8 million views completely deleted from YouTube because of the exact same type of cancel culture. Okay, cancel culture is so dangerous. It's something that we do not need. If we're going to have a free exchange of ideas and a dialogue between people, then regardless of whatever the content of the message is, how offensive or how much we dislike it, they need to be able to say it, okay? And we have the right not to listen.
I totally agree with you. And Whistler Wynn in the chat said Michael Moore is the broken clock syndrome. Like it can be right. And I can agree with that. It is going to happen where we cross paths with people that have been attacking us. They say everything horrible about us, but there's going to be those moments to where we can agree that it was wrong to take down his, if he didn't do anything wrong, it was wrong to take down his documentary.
Yeah,
it is what it is, but I'm not about to go, buy it personally.
No.
But
I mean, I'm sure we can find it for free, but I mean, it's I'm interested in seeing it now out of morbid curiosity. I want to know what got the left so incensed that they decided that his documentary didn't need to exist any longer. Yeah.
I get that.
Yeah. All right. Thanks again, baby love. Ken Schofer, thank you very much. BM says, I think you mean RP. Are you a fan of Silver Surfer by chance? Absolutely. I love Silver Surfer, and I am happy to report that after Marvel has acquired the rights to all of their characters, which were previously at Fox, we're going to get X-Men and Silver Surfer and Fantastic Four. They're going to be done justice. The only thing that gives me pause is that their parent company, Disney, is involved. I have been very worried about the direction of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, but I'm willing to give them a shot and see if there's something cool about it. But yes, I do have some Silver Surfer comics from way back in the day.
Real quick, Pepe Payne in the chat tags both of us. It says, tagged you in a tweet with a meme, also sent to Red Pill email. Curious if y'all got it. We'll just go ahead and say this. If you tag us on anything on Twitter, if we're not in our notifications at that moment, especially if like we have a tweet that takes off or something like that, we probably just don't see it. Because I sometimes get messages from people saying, why are you not looking at the stuff you're saying? I just don't see it. And I'm trying to spend less time in notifications, more focusing on all these other projects that we're trying to do and covering content and all that stuff. So yeah, it's nothing against Pepe, you or anybody. If we don't get to it, it's more than likely we just didn't see it.
Yeah, and I've said this before because I've gotten some angry messages from people saying, that I was ignoring them or trying to censor them or something. But I mean, there is nothing wrong with sending stuff to me or tagging me on Twitter. I will go through my notifications several times a day, but because, I've got like 65,000 followers, and then on YouTube, I've got, 224,000 people who are subscribed, and, there's, 5,000 to 7,000 comments per video, and, then I've got my email and the DMs on Twitter. There's no possible way that I can read all of the messages. If I could, I guarantee you guys I would. I try to go in there at least once a day and just, pick something off the top and try to respond, or I'll, scroll through. And if I see somebody that I know I've spoken to before, then I'll go ahead and go to that. And I will even go to messages from people that, I've never interacted with, either on Twitter or, anywhere else. But it's impossible. It's impossible because there are so many, hundreds of messages a day on Twitter, hundreds more on email. And I have so many people that I must communicate with, in the process of putting together these shows, in the process of scheduling people. I've got like probably 5 people that I know that I have to speak with this weekend who I have talked to about doing shows in the future. And, I've got, probably another 2 or 3 weeks before I'm going to have any room on the schedule to have anybody come on. So I know that I have to get in touch with those people, but it's not possible. I wish I had more time, and I love you guys for sending me the messages or tagging me and stuff. I always try to look at as much as I can, but I could spend 12 to 16 hours a day just worrying about the notifications and the messages, and then I wouldn't be able to get any videos done. The videos, oh, Muffin, come here.
It's so sad every time, man. But yeah, just calm down. Like the dog can hear me. What am I saying?
I know.
But yeah, I mean, we always try to get to our messages the best we can. Sometimes it's just they get overwhelming, and we're trying to work on other things. And also to that point about the scheduling and all that. I guess since we're getting close to the end of the show, let's talk about who we're having on this weekend.
And We Know is going to be on this weekend.
Yeah, the Sunday on Comfy Sunday, we're going to have And We Know. I know a lot of people follow his work. I think it's incredible.
Yeah.
If you're out there listening, bud, we're really looking forward to the chat. We'll just bring him on, talk about. I'd like to get his point of view on a lot of things going on.
I love And We Know. LT is a great guy. I'm sure that many of you know that he was on, one of my first weekend guests a long time ago. So I'm super excited to have him back on the show. On Friday, John D'Souza is going to be back, the X-Files man himself. And then on Saturday, Dr. Michael Salla is going to be here. We're going to be talking about Antarctica. And then the week after that, on Saturday, Dr. Michael Salla is coming back. We've got an extension of that show. We're going to be talking about the released information about the secret space program from the government. So I've talked about this technology that's been released in the past, and we're going to go do a deep dive on information from people in the government. It's going to be really cool, really cool. I need to say thank you to Whitehead. He says, hello, Patriots. We are watching the election closely. I know you are, dude. Thank you so much for being there in our federal government to help make sure that we stay safe and that our country continues to exist. Need to say thank you to Ascension 2012X has joined as a member. Daniel Diedrich says, Dersh labeled Patriot under players section on QMAP. Very important here. That section of QMAP is not made by the team. That is made by the owners of that website. So just keep in mind that that is not information directly from the team. Kristen P. has upgraded her membership to promoter. Thank you very much, Kristen. EO2 Dave says, I got my kids to eat vegetables by telling them it will help to keep them from getting the Rona. That is very, very intelligent. I love vegetables. I don't understand why people won't eat them. Craft75 says, talk about the toxic fans. I guess the original toxic fans were the petitioners of the original Star Trek in the 60s. We brought it back. We're the originals. We win. It makes them mad. You guys rock. Absolutely. And what is more sad than what the toxic studio culture has done to Star Trek in the modern era? They have absolutely destroyed it. Yeah, it's a big bummer. Mountain Lace says keyboard number 71 has delisted as a page. Yeah, so yeah, from the board, but it's not a post from our favorite Anon. This is from the people running the website. Gatorbit 11, writ of mandamus filed on behalf of HRC, basically says she's too important to be questioned in court. I predict that is not going to stand up. Then we've also got Red Pills Warhawk, message retracted. Okay, buddy, I don't know what happened. And then Two Dogs Mike D. At the same time, turning the other cheek has gotten Western civilization to where it is today. There is a fine line between weakness and faith. There is, and it's been twisted. And while at the same time we were told to turn the other cheek, the people who were leading our country were taking us down a very, very dark path indeed. So we need to be active. We need to maintain our position. We need to continue to spread the information, to spread the message, and we have to support President Trump. And we need to be there for the next generation of political leaders, okay? It's up to us. We're going to have to fill that gap. Keep in mind, 160,000 plus sealed indictments still exist. Those people are no longer going to be participating in the American political system, and they won't be able to vote again in the future because I'm sure those are all felonies. All right, well.
Real quick, we just want to thank everybody for coming and hanging out with us on the second episode. We look forward to next week having a couple more good ones. If you guys don't mind clicking like on the way out the door, that would really help us out. Sharing this if you enjoyed this conversation. We want to have a lot more of them. You can kind of tell about the relaxed feel of it. But yeah, thank you guys for hanging out with us. It's been great.
Yeah, most def. One more. Harrington Littell says, you are both very much appreciated. What do you guys think about Nasara? Thank you, Red Pill, for all that you provide us with your hard work. Where we go one, we go all. I don't know enough about Nasara to really make a decision on it. I think that this is one of those things I'm going to have to see the proof in the pudding before I can really make a judgment call on it, because I've done what I can to investigate it, and I've never seen anything resembling sauce showing that something's going to happen. Now, do I believe that we are potentially looking at a currency reset here in the United States? Absolutely. But is it going to be Nasara as other people see Nasara? I don't know. All right, you guys, I really appreciate everyone here. Please do us a favor. Go watch my video from yesterday. It's really good. I need your help to get it out there, to share it. Even if you already shared it, go ahead and share it again. Make sure you share this broadcast because I feel like we did a great show today. And I'm really hoping that we get as many people with their eyes on this channel as possible. And then in the future, as I continue to say, Methods is going to be premiering his own material on his own channel. And there's nothing more that would be more gratifying than for me to be able to help you guys find that. Also, one more thing. Neon Revolt also has his own podcast now, the Neon Revolt Show. So go find Neon Revolt on this channel, on YouTube. And then you can also go to Gab and to find the podcast. But basically, guys, I love you. Thank you for being here. Methods, as always, thank you for doing the show with me. And we will see you guys all again tomorrow.
Much love, everybody.
Oh, and then tonight at 6 too.